All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of The Blind View here on Becca's World. Here is your host, Miss Rebecca Meadows.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us today. Um, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, so I'm just going to introduce my co-hosts, and we're going to get started. Brandon and Anya, how are you guys?
Wonderful. Hi, everyone.
Good evening, everybody. I am blessed and fortunate. I am happy and grateful to be able to say. I hope that you, yes, you, yeah, the one hearing my voice right now, yeah, you. I hope you are likewise.
Yeah, great. So, guys, I want to talk about, well, everything that's going on in the world, but most of all, I want to talk about this ceasefire in between Israel and Gaza. Like, what do you guys think of this?
It's probably Trump effect. A lot of
Oh,
things that are happening. Everybody says whenever tide is turning, whenever things are changing in the right direction, it's probably because of the incoming administration. That's what I think.
I think it's pretty obvious that it is really. And this is more fallout from the awesome election results in November. And what do you think, Brandon? Do you think the same thing?
Well, first and foremost, I I am happy about it. Okay, I am happy because you know what happened in Israel on October 7th, 2024, 23
Wait,
actually,
yes.
2023, yeah, was terrifying and actually terrorist activity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, I've heard that hostages they've got teenagers all the way up to very very elderly people, and so I'm glad of this, but I'm also very supportive of the very strongly worded statements that Israel has made, because it's like, look, this was completely unprovoked. It'd
Mhm.
be one thing if they provoked it, or they egged it on, or they violated some kind of agreement or
Treaty.
aspect of an agreement, but
Mhm.
they did not. So I'm very happy now. Uh, Regarding what you ladies said about the Trump effect, I mean, I just want to say this. Although I am a loyal supporter of President-elect Donald John Trump, I am not sycophantic. Okay, so I am a loyal supporter of him, but I would never ever use the term savior in relation to President-elect Donald John Trump. I think he is a tremendously successful and accomplished man, but he's human just like I am. He's capable of making mistakes just like I am. So yes, I could hardly be happier about the incoming administration. I mean, isn't it exciting, guys? By this time next week, we will have a new president, and I am excited about that. I've given that man money, and I'll likely do it again. So yes, I am very excited about that. But I don't want to just, I would rather give credit to all the people that are involved in making this happen.
There is one thing I want to bring up, um, and that is, and I know it seems irrelevant to those of us on the ground here in America, but the International Criminal Court, to my knowledge, still has a thing out for um, premier or from for Israel's leader for Benjamin Netanyahu, right? Doesn't the International Criminal Court have like a warrant out for his arrest internationally? For what was it? Remember the
Yes, they
internet?
do.
Yeah, for crimes against humanity because of what was going on in Gaza. But as you guys know, I support Israel 100% for several reasons. Because first of all, they were attacked. They were merely defending themselves by what they went into Gaza to do. We all know the history of it. But once Trump gets into office, and, and stuff is already going right, like in the Israel Gaza affair, but the International Criminal Court is probably still going to have to be reckoned with here. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Uh,
I don't know much about international court, but from what I know, I don't take them very seriously. I mean, to me, it sounds like it's a bunch of woke people running it, a bunch of, you know, not super serious, biased people. I mean, they have a warrant arrest for Putin and for somebody else. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they're gonna follow through with that.
I hope so. I hope the ICC is really limp-wristed and powerless, but I just don't know. I just know that I myself, I had my tit in a ringer with the courts in Montana for like over 20 years, right? And it took a long time to get out of that. And because the International Criminal Court is a bigger court, I just worry about how what's really going to have to take place to get Benjamin Netanyahu truly freed from these bogus charges, from the International Criminal Court.
Oh, I absolutely understand what you're saying. And yes, I think that they are guilty of massive and unnecessary overreach of power and authority, although I'm not quite as dismissive of them. I do think that they need to be dealt with, and but I mean, again, I think there are a lot of people, many people, and agencies that need to be dealt with. We know that this week, several of President-elect Trump's cabinet nominees are being voted on. I saw excerpts and highlights from yesterday's discussion about Pete Hegseth, and we definitely saw a very, very clear divide, and I think that's a little bit unfortunate. I really think, I hope that President Trump will try to bring an end to this us versus them, because look, you guys saw how I behaved when we had who I would argue was a radical leftist discussing things with us. I didn't call her derogatory names. I didn't use profanity needlessly towards her. She's a human being just as I am. So although I might vehemently disagree, and have a polar opposite perspective, I don't think that we need to go burn things down and blow things up and assassinate one another. That's not the way. I don't like that.
Yeah, but see the way it's been viewed now, we are so divided intentionally, so divided like Democrats and Republicans. And now I don't know so much how Republicans feel this way, but every time Democrats are trying to work with the Republicans, it's no longer considered as work, it's considered as a betrayal by their party. Look at John Fetterman, who went to Mar-a-Lago. They're all pissed off about that. Because
right, and look at Tulsi Gabbard and others who have said, this is not the Democratic Party that I grew up with. They have fundamentally changed, and now if you don't agree 100% lockstep, so just to illustrate, I will plainly and boldly state here, I have never agreed 100% lockstep with the National Federation of the Blind. But I do agree, probably 95%. But I do not agree 100% lockstep every single policy and position and perspective, although I do pledge to participate actively in the efforts of the National Federation of the Blind to support the policies and programs of the organization. I don't necessarily agree with each and every single one.
Yeah.
Right. And it's funny you bring up the National Federation of the Blind, because I haven't been active in the Federation for a couple of years now, but there was a time when I was wholeheartedly involved because I believe in their mission statement and I believe in their perspective on blindness, right? But I have to be honest with you, the liberal leanings of the president of the Federation, you know what I mean, really irks me. And so I strongly disagree with the leadership of the National Federation of the Blind politically. And I wish that they would take a look at the conservative perspective, because I just feel like the difference between the conservative and the liberal perspective, in my view, and from my experience as someone who was locked under guardianship for 15 years, is that liberals like to tell you what's wrong with you and that it's somebody else's fault. Conservatives like to help you figure out what your struggles are and help you solve them, right? Like the conservatives help you solve things and the liberals just want to point out what's wrong and make you feel bad for it, so that you hate people that they blame stuff on, you know?
Yeah, but
And
on the
well-
political level, they should be more, if you're in the government, if you're an elected official, you should try to work with the other side. Like they like to say,
right,
reach across the aisle. But see, they don't want to do this anymore. For them, it's
right.
just us versus them and no other way.
Yeah, so reaching across the aisle is all good and well, but I'm tired of the people who sell us out all the time with reaching over the aisle too much. You know what I mean? Like giving away our rights and stuff just to make a deal across the aisle, you know?
Well, trust me, I think we're keeping our eyes and our ears on Mr. Johnson. That was a very interesting little debacle. It's behave, Johnson. Behave, Speaker Johnson. We're watching you. We're listening.
Oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen, let me point this out. So this show is called The Blind View, right? Like the Democrats and the socialists they woke up the beast, right? They woke up the American people. Even blind Americans are concerned about these matters, and even blind Americans are talking about these matters and, and voting according to a different way, right? And thinking differently now. And I really think the Democrats screwed themselves. I don't think they'll ever win another election now. Look at what happened with this last one,
Well, I don't agree with you saying even blind people. I mean, blind people are just as involved, just because you're blind
Right.
it doesn't mean that you're
Oh,
not.
I know. I was just making a play on words, right? Like, look, even the blind are coming out. They
I
vote
see
for
what
the
you mean, yeah.
beast. You know what I mean? Like, there was a time when people looked at the blind as irrelevant and not being involved politically and socially. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, and again, like that's why I don't, really fully agree with this idea of the federation. Oh, voting is hard. Voting is hard. It's never been hard for me. No.
It's not about that. Everybody knows that.
Admittedly, I live in a metropolitan area. I don't live in rural America, but I used to live in rural America, and I would get it done, you guys. I would make it happen. I would call a friend, make a friend. I would make it happen.
Look, people voted before even cars were around. People voted on the buggy and horse and buggy, however you say it. I mean, it's just a lame excuse to pull this idea with no IDs.
If I was the president of the federation, I'm sure Mark Riccobono will never do this, but it would be interesting to get a poll of the federation, just an anonymous poll, to see how they voted in this election, right? Like, did the majority of the NFB vote for Trump or Biden? You know what I mean?
Well, I wish that we could, in as much as it's possible to do so, divorce politics from the National Federation of the Blind. I think that we should just focus on equipping blind people with the skills that they need, to make it in this day and age. Leave as much as you can politics out of it, especially from an organizational perspective.
Yeah, but listen, the thing I hope President Trump will wake up and notice the plight of the blind like he did with African Americans, because during his previous administration, he did opportunity zones for African Americans, right? In predominantly African American communities, right? He could do the same for the blind if Trump would wake up to the plight of the blind and realize that we are really intelligent, hardworking men and women, that some of us just need a little help. Like I said, you know what those opportunity zones were that he did in his first term? It was like what was it? Like low interest business loans is what he did. Like if they made those available to the blind or other people with other disabilities who have, their mind intact and have the ability to do some other things, think about how it could help the blind excel more and people with other disabilities. And so I really hope that President Trump in this next term will take a notice of the disabled community, and in particular of the blind community, because the blind community, like at these blind immersion training centers, like we learn such great skills. And if we could tie that in with like a government agency that would help us get connected with good paying jobs when we're graduating from these blind immersion training centers, once we learn how to use like a computer proficiently and how to use O&M skills proficiently and you know what I mean, and Braille skills and stuff, so that when people are coming out of these blind immersion training centers, maybe we would have a leg up, just like he did in his last term, like I said, for African American communities, you know.
Well, it would be a huge help. It's not exactly what the president would decide, but it would be nice if they pass the law so there's no tax on Social Security.
Yeah,
And
well,
that
that's one thing that Trump was talking about. I bet he's going to do that in his next term here.
yeah, and all that affordable technology. I can't remember how that goes. NFB is working on this.
Oh yeah, they had the
affordable
Teach
technology.
Act. Are you talking about the Teach Act?
No,
And
not Teach Act. I can't remember.
ATAA, Assistive Technology Affordability Act.
Yes,
Oh,
that
yeah.
one. That one. That would be really helpful because those devices are so expensive. I mean,
oh yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, because Trump did this for the African Americans during his first term, if he would realize and Mark Riccobono as the president of the NFB could go to the White House and he could probably get President Trump's attention better, and he could lobby Trump to do the same for the blind and disabled, those small business loans, like I said, to help us get started and get a leg up. What does everybody think about that?
Well, I think that
It might.
it falls on all of us. Like, I mean, literally, like all three of us who are blind here talking right now. I mean, I think we should all try to do what we can. And I also think that, you know, even the largest organization of blind people in America, the National Federation of the Blind, needs to do a better job of advocating for blind people's employment.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, please stay with us during the commercial break. We'll be right back. Hi, it's me, Rebecca S. Meadows, the author, with my new book, Living on Borrowed Time, The Ravings of an Angry Survivor of Traumatic Brain Injury and Guardianship Abuse. It's available on Kindle Digital Download, Amazon Print on Demand, and on Audible. Please go check it out. And now, back to the show. Hey, thanks for staying with us, ladies and gentlemen. Did you guys? I don't think we're done talking about this yet. Are you guys done talking about it yet?
Well, no, I mean, I'm happy to, you know, talk about it, but you know, I'll just share a little of my individual perspective. I mean, I've been working in one form or another since I was 15 years old. At that time, I was either paid in cash or food or whatever, you know, but then when I turned 18 and everything could be official, you know, I had a bank account, they could pay me with a check, whatever. But I will say that it has been noticeably harder for me as a blind guy than it is for so many sighted people that I see.
how do I?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so many, you know, what I mean by that is so many sighted people that just say, you know what, I'm sick of this job. I quit. I'm done. I'm sick of this job. Say they say that on a Tuesday, right? Probably by the following Friday or the following Monday, they'll have another job. It's really not hard for them to find work because they don't face the discriminatory practices of employment that we do, and they don't face the fear around employment that we do. And
right, and that's why I'm saying, like, if President Trump would do something like this, it would open up so many opportunities for the blind, where we could start our own businesses, then we could employ other blind people, you know, and use other blind people's businesses in our businesses. Like when Gino and I have been doing stuff, when up on LinkedIn, when I posted up there about some of our projects, like I had people approaching me, people who had we've used companies that use blind people, right, in some of our projects, right? Like the company that did our audio description they used some blind people in the process, right? From what I understand, I think the lady that did the reading was actually blind and was reading in Braille or something, right? And so what I'm saying is, if President Trump would do something like this, it would not only help blind individuals start businesses, but those individuals could help employ other blind individuals. You know what I mean? And I just really, once President Trump gets into office next week, I have the number for the White House switchboard programmed into my phone, and I plan on calling the switchboard on a regular basis, at least weekly, and leave him messages about this on a regular basis, hoping he'll get one of my messages and attend to this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? And I'm going to become the squeaky wheel. So.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say, and not that you don't, but I would just say, and again, it's a paradigm perspective, right? But the only thing I would say is come to the table with solutions, though. Don't be one of these leftist, woke, DEI people that just complain. I mean, I'm not saying you point out the barriers that we face, but I just encourage everybody to also try to think of, okay, I mean, because we know how Trump is, right? He's like, okay, well, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do about it? So think about how you would answer that question.
Well, I think it'd be really easy for someone like myself who's in the know with all of this. Like, if I could get an audience with President Trump, like over Zoom or something, where I could explain to him, like, about the process that blind people go through, right? Like, about these blind immersion training centers and what we're able to learn there, and how once we're done with that training, we can literally do almost anything, right? With a computer, with the proper like talking program in it or whatever, And I just really feel like if President Trump knew how easy it would be to help blind Americans, get a leg up, and also other disabled Americans along the way, you know what I mean? By making these small business loans available to disabled Americans also, I just really see a lot of potential there. So that's my plan, is to start barraging the White House with phone calls here next week once President Trump's in there, and just because you can call the White House switchboard and leave a message, and like the more messages that are left about this, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So anyway, if any of our viewers are blind and if they like this idea, I encourage them to call information, call 411 for Washington, D.C. You can get the White House switchboard number also. And on there, you can leave a message for the president. I don't know, maybe I've only called it a couple of times, but the thing is, you can communicate with the president through that. And if more of us blind Americans do this, maybe he'll get our message and maybe he'll open up something like this for us,
Well, and I don't only think, small business loans. Let's not limit ourselves just to that.
Right.
But I think, for example, with the new policies that are going to be implemented as far as educational institutions go, let's make sure that colleges aren't discriminating against blind people. Let's make sure that employers get training on, from blind people that are high functioning on, how to treat blind people, but I do absolutely agree with you that we need numbers. We need numbers, or it's not going to change.
Yeah.
I don't think it's president's job, though. I mean, training people, it has to be all done with the appropriate what do you call it? Like sites, appropriate agencies, whatever.
Yeah, but President Trump can get the ball rolling, you know what I mean? Because he's the president. He can write a bill and take it to Congress and be like, I want to blah, 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 do these opportunity zones or whatever you would want to call them for the blind and disabled. And however he did it up for the African Americans, he could do it up in a similar way, right? And they could be offered to people who specifically have graduated from a college or a blind immersion training center, and people who can prove that they learned their Braille skills and their tech skills and all that. For example, I would not be eligible for one of these because I did not learn my Braille skills when I went through my training. But for people who go through their training and really learn well and learn their tech skills good and their Braille skills good, like I would say they're definitely worth investing in, to do this kind of stuff, right?
Well, I'm glad that you're open to the idea of setting qualifications because,
Yeah.
right, I mean, we need to be willing to demonstrate competency and dedication and effort. We need to make America great again. We can't do that sitting on a couch eating a bag of potato chips, drinking Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola. Okay, you
Yeah.
can't. That's not the right kind of ethos.
Right. But blind Americans can be part of making America great again. I truly believe that.
Of
And
course, of course.
yeah. And so I'm really excited about this possibility. And I really believe in the potential of the blind, and I really feel like this could really help out the blind, and it could help out America overall. Because one thing I've noticed as a blind American, and in particular as a member of the National Federation of the Blind, is when blind Americans do things, there are ripple effects that that help people of all walks. You know what I mean? Like, even the stuff I did up in Montana, my legal fight, there will be ripple effects to that to help other disabled Americans with their guardianship fights, right? Well, everything the Federation does, those ripple effects help other blind Americans with their fight for independence, and other disabled Americans of all disabilities with their fight for independence, right? And so I just wanted to point out how this all works. You know what I mean? And that we've already, like, as blind Americans, we all have already seen this work in our own lives, right? At different levels and in different situations.
Yeah.
I have, and kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight actually might, be somewhat interesting, at least to converse about, to both of you ladies. Kind of what I wanted to talk about, but end on an encouraging note is, like I want to talk to parents of blind children. Like, I really, really wish that you wouldn't treat them so different, because we're not really all that different, But I think a lot of blind kids do deal with things like isolation and segregation, and things like that, and it's just generally a very awkward social experience, but it shouldn't be. I mean, in as much as it's possible, so, and I don't know, if that, kind of dovetails with any of the experiences of you ladies, but like, I know, for example, you, Becca, have talked well, not at length, but you've talked many times about guardianship abuse. Now, I don't know if you suspect that is in any way connected to your blindness or not, but I would suspect that it likely is. I don't think that it's as common for people with no disabilities to be treated like that. What do you think?
I've met several people that are locked under guardianships, and every one of them has been a woman. And you're right, every one of them has also been disabled in one way or another. Like, several of them have been blind. Some of them have had like cognitive delays, and stuff like that. But yeah, there are some. I mean, yeah, people who are locked under guardianships are typically disabled. But there are also people who have some money, right? Because these people who are, quote unquote, concerned about protecting the disabled person, they're never concerned about protecting the disabled person unless the disabled person has substantial assets that they want to get their hands on. You know what I mean? If the disabled person has no money at all, nobody cares about protecting that person. You know what I mean? It's really an ass backwards concept, these guardianships.
Well, but see, even the way that you describe it, locked under guardianship. See, the way that I view that is, I'm going to take a big heavy chain and I'm going to lock you down. Like, you don't do anything, you don't go anywhere, you don't say anything that I don't say. See, guardianship shouldn't be that way.
And that's exactly what they do. Yeah, that's exactly what they do. And I agree.
No. Guardianship, I think, should be, okay, listen, right now I have guardianship of you. Okay, so let's find out what you can currently do. Let's find out what you want to do. And then let's find a way to make a bridge between those two things, and plus on top of that, like, not every kid is good at everything.
Yeah.
So, but it's not I'm going to lock you down, like blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's a whole paradigm of like sort of
Yeah.
abusive and manipulative. That shouldn't be what
And-
guardianship is.
And the thing is, it all depends on the personality and the intentions of the person who's appointed guardian. Like, I had 2 guardians during my experience, right? My first guardian was a monster, right? And he was terribly cruel to my family and me, and he's detrimental to my mental and spiritual and emotional health, right? And my physical health. But then my second guardian was a completely different man. He was, compassionate, and he truly cared about the welfare of myself and my family. And so, but that's the problem. These guardianships, because they take all of the rights away from the person and hand them over to this other person. And if this other person doesn't have the right intention, then that first person, the person who's supposed to be the one who's protected, actually winds up being taken advantage of and abused, And that's why these guardianships, they just need to be plain outlawed, because they too easily get abused. There's really no way to protect the person other than just let them have their rights. And I mean, like in life, it's sink or swim, all of us, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that's what they came. That's what they finally came to my situation, because, like, they finally said, okay, she's proven that she's not incapacitated, and she's proven that she knows what her rights are now, and she's insisting she get them back. Well, we're gonna have to cut her loose and sink or swim, let her go, because it's her life, right? And that's really what people need to come to. All these people that are locked under guardianships, it's their life. If they want to screw it up, if they want to make bad decisions, well, they'll lay in their bed just like everybody else does who's not locked under guardianship, And so that's how I feel about it.
I have a question about that, Becca.
What's your question?
Yeah, well, before I ask my question, I want to make a quick announcement that we're not going to have a second commercial break because Gino had to step out. We got this message, and he'll likely not be back by the end of the hour, so we're just going to watch the clock, and then whenever we're done, we're just going to wrap it up, just so you guys know.
Okay.
But my question is, so you said you had 2 guardians, right? So
Right.
my question is, how do those people get assigned? So is it like a random person, or is that some relative who take that responsibility? Or
so the first guardian, he was assigned to be my guardian because my parents and their lawyers were, quote unquote, concerned for my safety, for what they called poor decision making on my part. I was 20 years old at the time, and I had a lot going on, so I wasn't making the best of decisions. And so they took me into court, and the judge decided to lock me under the guardianship at their request because I was making poor decisions. That's how I was locked under it, because what they had to do is they had to label me incapacitated in order to lock me under the guardianship. And so the judge agreed to let them do that. And that's how I got locked under it in 1997. And then in 2004, when I went back to try to overturn it, the judge wouldn't let me overturn the guardianship because the current guardian at the time and the lawyer for the bank, because they were in bed together robbing me blind, those two convinced the judge that, she's still incapacitated. She still can't be trusted to protect all this money. So she still needs a guardian. So the judge insisted that I have a new guardian, right? And that was in 2004. And in 2004, the question wasn't, are her civil rights being violated? The question before the court was, is she incapacitated? And I wasn't able to prove that I'm not incapacitated because they never proved I was incapacitated to begin with, And because they never had to prove it to begin with, it was impossible for me to disprove something that was never proven in the first place, right? I mean, I could argue till I was blue in the face. I literally had to get, in 2004, I had a doctor do a full test on me, and he said I wasn't incapacitated, but their doctor said I was. And then in 2012, I had a completely different doctor who was never part of situation at all. He did a full evaluation on me, and he found that I was completely competent. And that doctor at the time worked for the VA, and he was the doctor in Montana who would examine veterans to decide if they were incapacitated or not. And so that doctor did a full neuropsychological evaluation on me, and he was so impressed that he told me he would go anywhere I needed him to and testify on my behalf. And that was in Helena, Montana. And so I told him, I said, well, my court hearing is on this day. And he came to the court that day and he testified on my behalf, and the judge set me free that day. And it was because of his testimony and because of what my lawyer said, because my lawyer pointed out to him that my constitutional rights were being violated,
Yeah.
But it was the help of the second guardian, because the first guardian was mean. He was a criminal lawyer and he was suspicious and didn't trust anybody by nature. And he was suspicious and didn't trust me. Right. And so I was dealing with a guardian for years who suspected me and who was always accusing me of stealing money from myself. And he was demanding accountability from me every time he sent me money for anything. You know what I mean? Like, I'd ask for money to buy a bed. And then 3 months later, if I was pissing him off, he'd say, where are the receipts for that bed? I want to see them, And it was terrible what I was going through with that first guardian. So then the second guardian was, because he lived right in Missoula, and he was able to come to my house and meet my husband and meet my kids. And he wasn't just getting hearsay from a case manager like the first guardian was. And he didn't have the suspicious nature the first guardian was, because this guy wasn't a criminal lawyer. And this guy also didn't have designs on the money. The first lawyer was actually one of the lawyers that fought the original lawsuit. So he knew about the money. He'd been dreaming of the money and plotting to get his hands on the money from the very beginning.
But did he take any of that money though?
Oh my God. It depends what you mean by take.
Well, you said he was after that money. That's what I'm curious.
Well, when the lawsuit was going on, it was him and the other lawyer that my mother hired that were fighting it. You know what I mean? Their whole agenda was getting as much money as they could. And during those years, they were every conversation they had with me, they were trying to convince me that I was brain dead and I would never recover, because they wanted to convince me of that so they could run off into the sunset with all that money. And then
you see what an affront. See, in my opinion, that is an affront to your personhood.
Yeah, and it's so similar to what we've been dealing with the last 4 years with the Biden administration. All the ways in which the Biden administration has undermined the integrity of the American people and of the American spirit. It's so much like what those bastards did to me. And all of the legal, the lawfare against President Trump, it reminds me of all the lawfare I went through at the hands of those fucking lawyers up in Montana. It really pisses me off. And I'm so glad Trump won the day. Because the good guys won. Anyway.
We did, but I actually think, again, I'll just point out, there was still irregularities even in this most recent presidential election. We just made it too big to rig. But
just like Trump said.
There were still irregularities, and I hope our victories will be our retribution. I really do.
Oh yeah, I mean,
that's really right about that. Yeah.
Some of the states were holding back to the last minute to submit their vote count because they just, I mean, if they went, honestly, if they went and submitted like it's supposed to be, like if everything went honest, it would have been a biggest landslide, probably bigger than Reagan. But they could not bring themselves to face this shame, and they didn't want to do it.
Well, I think if there wouldn't have been people literally saying things like, no jab, no job. I mean, I think that was the most egregious thing that I ever heard. It's like, look, just so you all know, I can be pretty daggum aggressive if I need to be, right? But the thing is, I'll slash your tires, I'll key your car, I'll do whatever. I'll take your girl. I'll do whatever, but I won't mess with your job. Okay, I won't do that. You'll still at least be able to buy food and whatever, So it's just this whole idea, no jab, no job. Literally taking away the ability of people like me. Yes, people like me. I have not and will not get the experimental clot shot. No, I did not, and I will not. So, but I agreed to everything else though. I'll wash my hands. I'll wear the stupid face diaper. I mean, mask. I will social distance. I'll do all that because probably maybe I don't want to be around you anyway. But I'll do all of that. And still they tried to say nope, no jab, no job. I mean, that's a very serious thing to say. To try to take away the employability or the employment of someone just because they won't take a shot. No.
Well, and what they did to. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please join us next week.
Oh no, we're not done yet.
Is this the second commercial break? Okay, great.
I thought we're not gonna have it, but I guess we are.
Gino's back on. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
Why don't they have blind people sections at sporting events? Why do I gotta pay the same price to not see shit? Okay? The Jumbotron ain't even built for me.
I am the business manager here at the Visually Impaired School of Arizona.
I see you brought the film crew. Make sure you get my good side.
All right, settle down and get focused on your tasks.
I teach the art of cuisine, child.
You wanna know what the problem, the biggest problem in the blind community? It's you sighted people.
Just take a look over here.
Yeah, I don't know where that is, man.
Okay, you all need to turn off those cameras and just leave the building.
Wait, Joe, hold on.
Oh, on your right.
You're on the right.
How would you know that the men you're dating are black?
No, this is not card member services. This is the Visually Impaired School of Arizona.
CJ, where are his pants?
I don't know.
Billy doesn't work here. He basically came with the building.
I can be the very first mayor of Blind Sylvania.
Make blind America great again.
There goes my pie.
This happens every day?
No,
Sometimes.
of course not.
Ladies and gentlemen, are we back?
Yeah, sounds
back.
like we're all back. So like Gino's back, everybody's back, so we're all good.
So I wanted to remind our viewers that show, Don't Look Now, is going to be featured at the Chandler International Film Festival on the 25th of this month, next Saturday. So if you're in the area, I invite you to stop by.
Excellent.
I and now that Gino's back, okay, I just wanted to say now that I was going to end the show, but now that Gino's back, we can do our regular thing. So let's continue talking then. What were you saying, Brandon?
Oh, I just want to say, I still don't yet know with definitive certainty whether I will or won't be in the area, but I do absolutely want to wish you guys well, and I do think I am going to try to make it a point to stop by. So, I'll tell you that in person. And just in case that commercial break was because the moderator maybe thought I was making the temperature a little bit too hot, I'll cool it down. Don't worry. I'm not even mad. I just don't like people trying to get me fired for no reason.
Yeah, and so Brandon, if you do wind up coming to see the show on the 25th in Chandler, there's a good chance that we might do an after party, like a little get together, because we usually do that when we do a film festival thing like this. If Gino and I go, you know what I mean? So if you want to take part in it, just plan on staying afterwards,
All right.
But what about us? We don't get to go to the party.
Do you want to come to Arizona? Aren't you in Kansas?
Probably not on such short notice. Maybe someday.
Yeah.
It's probably warmer out there than here, so would be nicer.
Yeah. I'm really excited about the film festival here in Chandler. It's going to be really great.
Now, where do we go again? Let's remind the people of where to go to learn all about it. Because just hearing things, I love it when people text me stuff because I forget. It's just my son wants this, and my daughter wants that, and my wife wants that, and the cat wants that, and it's like I think I was supposed to do. What was I supposed to do today?
Right. Now, so it's the Chandler International Film Festival. And so if you go online and search that, it should pull up the website for the film festival, and that will tell you the address for the building where the theaters are at, where they're showing the film festival. And There is, I don't remember. It's really cheap. It's like to register. If you choose to register for the whole thing, you can go to the whole week and you can look at the schedule for all of the movies and short films and stuff like that are going to be shown during the week, and you can look at the menu and decide which other ones you might want to go, because it's like I think it's like $15 to buy a ticket, and then you get into the whole week's worth of events. But
wasn't there a website for the show though? I thought.
Oh yeah, so it's don'tlooknowtvofficial.com. Yeah, that's for the show specifically, and I'm sure Gina will have information on that website about the film, like the location for the film festival in Chandler here next weekend. So.
But you said don'tlooknowtvofficial.com?
Yeah, and there's no apostrophe in don't. It's just don'tlooknowtvofficial.com. Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
And so for our sighted viewers, when the commercial plays on the screen, they see there's a link that says don'tlooknowtvofficial.com. It's just you don't hear it read because there's no.
Well, I didn't see that. I'm blind. Okay.
Right. I know that's why, but I'm saying that for our blind viewers, because our blind viewers can't really see that on the trailer that we play. I just happen to know it's there because Gino and I designed the trailer, So,
why now? I'm just curious. I mean, if you don't, if you can't say or whatever, I don't want you to violate your NDA or whatever. But why not just say don'tlooknowtvofficial.com at the end or whatever? You know what I mean?
Well, I guess we could probably add that. The thing is, I think there's like when. I know when you look at the link, like when Gino sends the link to me or I send it to other people, like if you double tap on the link, at least from a blind perspective, it reads all that information to you as it's opening up. It reads the name of the show and all of the stuff you're asking for. You know what I mean? Right there.
No, I know, but think about how many times we see ads with just music. I mean, it's not just music. Visually, there's stuff going on, but all we hear is music.
I know, but as a blind person, when you tap on this link, instead of just hearing music, you'll actually hear the description of the show and all of that. And I believe in there, it tells you don't look now TV or .com or something.
But you keep saying a link. If I'm just watching something on Hulu or Netflix, I don't even know the link. I just hear music.
Okay, but the link that you click on to watch the trailer, like when I first look at it before I double tap to activate the video, like my voiceover reads all the information you're asking for. It's already on there. Gino put it on there. I don't
think we're on the same page. No.
Yeah, maybe I don't understand what you're asking.
But I'm just saying, like, imagine that you're just watching TV, right?
Uh-huh.
And a commercial comes on and it's just music. Like the autism one is a great example, I think. I don't know the website to go to support those people with autism, even if I wanted to. I mean, I think they do say something about Autism Speaks or something like that. So I guess I could just Google Autism Speaks.
If this was a commercial that we were paying to put out on public TV or something, of course, Gino and I would edit the video and there'd be a voice that said at the end of the trailer that said, for more information, go to don'tlooknowtvofficial.com.
Oh, you would do.
Can I jump in for a second? Can I jump in for a second?
Sure, Gino.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So when we did the audio description for the show, and we talked about doing audio description or a trailer, the trailer is so unbelievably fast. There is not a breath of it's music, dialogue, music, dialogue, music, dialogue. So the audio description lady said it. Most trailers, it's very difficult to do narration. You're not really going to be able to even really grasp what's going on because it's such rapid shots with dialogue, with music, right?
Right.
Sure.
But
that's why we didn't do it for this particular trailer. Now, if it was a real show, like this is a proof of concept. If the show was on a network, obviously that would be a different thing. you know, but it just wasn't, you know, as far as what we're trying to do, the money, time, energy spent to try to get that wouldn't really get us very far, right? Like, you know, really it's for investors that might want to pick up the series and help us develop it. Then, of course, we would work with them and do that.
And of course, I'm perfectly capable of, after, you know, I know that that is played during our second commercial break. There's absolutely no reason that I couldn't always say at the end of it, oh, and for more information, visit don'tlooknowtvofficial.com. You know what I mean? Like, and that's something I've been thinking about doing. And now that you brought it up, Brandon, I realize other people are concerned about it. I will start doing that because.
Well, normally I do. I have done it in the past. Sorry, today was a little bit.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess what was Brendan was trying to get to, and tell me if I'm wrong, Brendan, but I think what he was trying to say that when, just in general, when commercial comes on, any commercial, and when music is playing, you, Becca, saying that, oh, like you just click on a link, but just because you know there's a link, but if you just watching something random and there's music, you have no idea that there's a link, right, Brendan?
Yeah, and I'm aware of all of issues that our blind viewers have because I'm a blind person, right? And so you guys are right. I like, because Gino usually says that. I guess I could have said that. And anyway.
Oh no. I'm just simply saying, like, Anya's resonating with my point more. I'm just like, car commercials are infamous for that too. It's like, oh, I don't know what car that. I mean, you can kind of tell it's a car commercial sometimes, but sometimes you can't. And I mean, all I'm saying is, if it says, I mean, I'm not, you know, I'm not asking for every single thing to be audio described, but at least the end.
Yeah, we need. You're absolutely right. We need to at least mention that link when we watch or when we play the commercial.
Because I actually think the trailer is descriptive enough, like, for me to make a decision and a judgment. Like, what how do I feel about that? But at least, like, if you want me to go somewhere to, like, support or whatever.
Yeah. Well, like I said, maybe Gino and I can, because Gino is such a genius when it comes to editing. Maybe we can edit in where you hear my voice saying every time at the end of the commercial, for more information, please visit blah, 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 blah. And that way we don't have to remember to say it each time, because sometimes Gino and I are both saying it then, you know what I mean?
Yeah, all I'm saying is whatever you see at the end, like where people can learn more.
Right, I know.
You know.
Yeah, and Gino and I will talk about that and figure out the best way to do that. So is there anything else you guys want to talk about then?
Well, very briefly, we don't have that much time, but I want to talk a little bit about censorship. I know this has been talked about like last week. I wanted to bring it up, but we never got to it. So just overview, generally speaking, like, what do you guys think of Zuckerberg coming out and kind of backpedaling on censorship on Facebook about, you know, removing fact checkers?
I think it's great. I don't think they should have been put on in the first place. I honestly, I think if he's going to backpedal, though, I think he owes the American people an explanation and an apology.
A lot of people are excited about this thing, and I'm in a way too. But you know, I do not trust him. You know, he is such a snake, if you will. You know, he just goes with whatever the wind is blowing, and he's sensing the climate change. No pun intended. Political climate change, and so he just kind of backing off. But I mean, he can come back with the same force.
I love that, Anya. I love that play on words, political climate change. That's really cool.
I
mean, and I think we should, I think we should thank him, and there have indeed been some defectors from the Democratic Party that have come over to our side and finally realized, like, we're not all the things that they say about us. So, but I also agree with, the cautiously optimistic perspective. Yeah, I totally agree.
I mean, do you think he's being sincere when he says, "Well, we just have gone too far censoring people"? Did you not know this, moron? I mean, come on, it's been going on for a long time, and you just came to this realization. You knew this all along, and you just like this.
But we know from the Twitter files, and yes, I know it's now called X, but we know from the Twitter files, right, that the full sort of force of the government was cracking down and saying, do this or else, do this or else. I mean, imagine if you were a social media company and the Federal Communications Commission said to you, we hereby order you to, this is the Federal Communications.
He could have made it public. Look, he could have, if he was really against this, if he was so much pro First Amendment, he could have just stepped out and said, like, hey, I'm being pressured by the government. Ooh, people would have exploded at that point. But
He could
have come out just then, but he didn't.
So could Jack Dorsey. He could have too, but he didn't either.
So I mean, what stopped them back then? To expose this unconstitutional pressure that was being pressed on them.
Yeah.
But I think now, now that he's doing it, I'm glad, I'm thankful. But I think that's why President-elect Trump still has not disbanded Truth Social, because he's on X now. But I always have a backup plan.
Right.
Yeah, but I was really kind of surprised in a way, but also amused by the reaction from the liberals to this fact checker thing. They were totally freaking out. Like, you can read some comments. They're so pissed off. Like, in other words, they're basically asking, like, please take my speech away. Like they want us to be censored. And I saw comments like, well, those are, you can't be biased. Those are facts. And they truly think that.
Well, and I think that's because, some people genuinely believe that the government needs to take care of all of us. And people like me do not believe that. We believe that we should take care of ourselves and each other with very, very limited government intervention.
Hey, guys, I have another thing I want to talk to you about real quick before the show ends, okay?
Go ahead.
What do you guys think about that Chinese social media? What's it called?
TikTok?
TikTok, the one that's been so controversial. Like, what do you guys think about the talk now about what might happen to TikTok? What do you guys think? Like, do you think TikTok can possibly be trusted if it leaves Chinese ownership and winds up in the hands of an American company?
I never had TikTok. I always despised TikTok because of it's basically garbage can, in my opinion. So I won't shed tears if it goes. I don't care.
Well, I personally don't either, but I think it is true though that even a lot of Americans, maybe kind of unbeknownst to themselves, they have made some money from it, but right now with it being owned by ByteDance, I just don't in general think people realize how insidious the Chinese Communist Party and the People's Liberation Army of China really are.
Yeah.
And you said that, and I'm not going to take it back.
Yeah,
and they do collect our information.
But President Trump, I think, is going to try to make it safe. And if he can make it safe, like, because of TikTok's reach, I have high hopes that President Trump can make it safe, because I've never used TikTok and I would like to check it out, but I'm so terrified to download it right now because I just don't trust it.
And you shouldn't trust it. The Chinese Communist Party is, literally right now, today, doing horrible, horrible things, including live organ harvesting from people who they religiously disagree with. Live organ harvest.
And they've been doing that shit for decades.
It's terrible.
I remember when I started getting vision back when I was in high school, I read an article in a large print Reader's Digest from the 80s, right? Because someone gave me some large print Reader's Digest magazines to read back then. And I read this article about what the Chinese were doing, the Chinese communists were doing in the 80s. And it was terrible, the article I read. Alexa, stop! And that was back in the 80s, right? Like, and here we are, like 40-some years later.
Yeah, they still haven't stopped. In fact, if anything, they've intensified and made it more overt.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's more inhumane and more sick and demented and also more demonic. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's just like, I'll give you another example. There's a screen reader on Android called Commentary or G-Shuo. And I really, commend what that particular and individual developer is doing, but I won't use the product because at any time he can be compelled to turn over whatever information he has about me. And the issue is that accessibility services on Android are given the most access to information, obviously because they need it, right? They need to be able to read your screen so that they can tell you what's on your screen, right? There are legitimate uses for it, but I won't use G-Schwal because I know that at any time that guy could be compelled to give every piece of information about me to the CCP, and I'm not willing to do that.
Yeah. Can you spell the name of that? Because I haven't heard of it, and maybe our viewers haven't either.
G-Schwal, I'm not sure how to spell that properly, but if you just search for commentary screen reader, you can learn about it. And it is quite a capable screen reader, I will say it is. But I just don't trust it enough.
I never heard of it, actually.
Did you say it was made by the Chinese government?
No, it's developed by like a guy or just a few people.
Oh,
but they are Chinese, and I don't mean Taiwanese. I mean Chinese. They're
okay.
And so I don't think that they necessarily are evil. I'm not against the Chinese people, not at all. But I am vehemently opposed to the Chinese Communist Party and everything having to do with them.
And their influence. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like the some important date will be on Sunday the 19th regarding TikTok. So I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I think Supreme Court has to decide something. I'm kind of vaguely aware what's going on about this because I cannot care less about TikTok. But I think after Sunday we should know more.
Come to Rumble, creators. Come to Rumble.
Yeah.
Do you guys know what happened to Parler? Remember there was Parler Network?
I do remember that. Yeah. I don't know.
I wonder what happened to Parler. Yeah, I haven't heard of Parler in so long. I bet Gino knows, or he can look it up for us after we get off the show.
Yeah, I mean, remember when there was so much censorship and people moved right after the fake election 2020? People moved, but they went after them so hard. You know, they shut down servers, and you know they just did not want people to be talking freely there.
That's exactly why I'm on Rumble, because I got kicked off of YouTube.
I can tell you what happened
then.
with them. So Parler, and I would say this was another move at censorship. They were removed from the mobile app stores of Apple and Google. That was the first thing that happened. And then interestingly enough, a media conglomerate company called Starboard bought them and shut them down on the same day.
Wow. If that's not clear evidence of censorship.
Right.
I mean, they were so aggressive about censorship during that period because it was so important to hide the election interference. Like, you know, the stakes were high, so they were trying to do anything. Right. Plus COVID, plus these shots that they need to put in people's arms as soon as possible. I mean, they were willing to get anything.
From hell.
And Biden's dementia. Remember Biden's dementia? Another thing they didn't want us talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh, now listen, Trump's only going to be in office for 4 years, though. We need to, this is something Americans need to always think about. We can't ever let stuff go back to the way it was during the Biden administration, you know?
Well, no. I'm looking forward to it. I think though, you know, kind of like Anya has said in the past, if the now President-elect Trump, if he doesn't, or if he's unable to deliver, I do worry about that because I don't think it's going to be smooth sailing. Again, I'm very pro President-elect Trump, but listen, I'm still concerned about the day of inauguration, especially now that the schedule has been made public. But even if nothing happens on that day, which I don't know, but you know, they're not going to go quietly into the night. I still, it's not going to be smooth sailing, but I hope that our ship is so big that we can sail on the waves all the same.
There's probably going to be some protests, so I'm kind of ready to expect anything.
I'm still praying for President Trump's safety and protection every single day. And I encourage our viewers to pray, because the more people who are united in community, in communion when it comes to prayer, God will hear our prayers and he'll answer them. He'll protect President Trump. You know what I mean? Just like he did on July 13th, remember?
I remember.
Yeah, and I'm going to continue to pray for President Trump every single day and multiple times every day through this next 4 years too.
Awesome.
Well, in the immediate, especially Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah. Because that's the best thing we can do for our president is pray for his safety and pray for him to have wisdom and insight, into what's going on, so that he can protect us and make good decisions.
Right. Well, next time we'll meet, guys, it's going to be right after inauguration, 2 days. So
That
there'll be
is
a lot to talk about.
That is true.
Yep.
So let's get excited for the
guys,
week.
I gotta say, I don't think I'm going. I haven't received anything. I don't think I'm going. So
yeah, I don't think we won either. I mean, I don't think our tickets were drawn. We haven't gotten any emails, so.
No, it's a high competition. So,
Yeah.
but hey, we'll be watching, and we'll have a lot to talk about on the next show. About
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, please tune in again next week. Peace out, y'all. That's a wrap. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching Betcha's World. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel.